Hey there, this is Artsy Wisdom. My name's Diane. Thank you for coming by. Today's reading is sort of a kind of a check-in on the energies for today. The moon's in Sagittarius, so things are a little bit more big. The energy of Sag is Jupiter, so expansive, sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending. I wanted to read on the weather and this new Milton hurricane. I had Kevin Birdwell on my channel, always asks a lot of questions. And so these are kind of about Earth phenomenon. So I'm going to look into those. And what I do is, if you haven't been here before, I get into the energy of a thing, a person, a situation from that perspective. And I see their goals, they're what they're trying to do, especially a person. For example, Elon Musk. I'm going to get into this dark Maga title he's given himself, and I wanted to see again what his goals are. I do updates on him fairly regularly because he's positioned himself right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the Trump campaign. So I wanted to look at that. I also had mentioned in my last video, or one of my videos, where I go into the energy of people that have passed on, celebrities, most of them, or people that have been involved in nefarious situations and they've moved on, and what actually happened. Because sometimes people don't, the police or people around the situation don't know what happened. So one time recently I did Marilyn Monroe, and I saw her not taking her own life on purpose. That I felt like the syndicate was around Sinatra and Kennedy. He didn't have anything to do with it exactly, John F. Kennedy or Robert Kennedy, but I saw her as really depressed and feeling really bad. Now, in my vision, I saw them lifting her up out this window. Now, she did die, there was pills around her, and they found all the evidence, and it looked like a suicide, although there was a no note. I think she was so depressed she wanted to leave. If you want to see my other video, you can look at her history before she got to that point. She really ran out of ideas, and she just really needed to be loved. And but they had to break in the window to get into the room because she wasn't answering the door. So her doctor, psychiatrist, or whoever was monitoring her broke in. That could have been when I saw the window part of it. And I don't think they had anything to do with it, obviously, but I think there was something around a crime syndicate. I still feel that way. They somehow manipulated her medication, or made it easier, or gave her the tools to make it not quite the same, but Matthew Perry's, where they had, these people that were involved, and they saw him as not as a problem, but he was weak, and they helped him along. And they didn't mean to maybe necessarily help him leave this earth, but with her, I definitely think it was encouraged, if not forced to happen. Anyway, I just wanted to share that my visions are not always exactly, but I got into her energies, and she just wanted to be free, and she was after the fact. That's kind of a nice ending for her. I mean, not going, but it was what she wanted, and her soul was free. Anyway, so weather, dark Maga, Musk. I think of Darth Vader immediately when they said I'm dark Maga. I was like, okay, Darth Vader. Absolutely. I can see that. Anyway, let's get started. Thank you again for coming by. My new subscribers, thank you. And if you feel so inclined, if you like what you're seeing here today, please subscribe, share. I see visions, like I said, and sometimes it's related to food. By the way, side note, in the past, I've seen Kamala Harris as these root vegetables, these carrots, and caramelized yellow sweet potatoes, squash in a pan, like a fall delicious caramelized vegetables, a sheet of it. And recently, in the last month or so, she became like, they had blended together till she got bigger and bigger, overtaking Trump's broken chocolate cake. And I think somebody had said there she's very earthy, grounded. I was like, yep, that's it. But lately, that mushy vibe that I used to feel her as, I feel like that was kind of lovey-dovey, but more freedom, love, joy, and all that, which I'm not opposed to. Now she's getting more serious. So I feel like she's going back to that tray of root vegetables, caramelized carrots, turnips, whatever they are. Edges are a little harder. And it's still there and strong with Tim Wall's sheet of biscuits and all his incarnations of biscuits or versions of biscuits, sweet and savory. But I wanted to share that with you because I feel like she's having to be more serious. She's having to be more pointed. All this, the rallies where she's bringing everybody in is still there, but this is a little bit more decisive. And that's the vibe I'm getting from her. And maybe that's just because she knows it's getting closer to the election day and she's got to be more decisive, specific. And I also see carrots pointing, like she needs to project that. So I was just kind of mentioning that. I found that interesting because these visions that I get change over time, free will and, energetic shifts in the world. I'm going to start with Hurricane Milton. And like I said the other day, I saw something forming, but I thought it would stay small. But now I just checked the news and it's already a category. They're saying it's already a category 5 and it should hit landfall Wednesday afternoon, I think, to the center of Florida. It's very interesting because it usually goes up one side or the other or into Texas or whatever, but this one's straight across the peninsula of Florida and those poor people. So I can't imagine the people that were affected by Hurricane Helene and all the roads out and all the, infrastructure being destroyed and all those projectiles everywhere, debris that they need to pick up so it doesn't get, turn into more debris and destroy more people or hurt more people. So I do see like a giant ball hitting the Florida and I see it like really intense, like kind of like a sun hitting. And that's what I saw the other day, the round, but it was like, it gets expansive. It does destroy a lot. So if you're there or near there, I would evacuate. Prepare to leave if you haven't already, because I do feel like it's going to be more like intense, but it's not as slow or it's not as fast as Helene. So it's going to be slower. So it does more damage because it stays longer in a way. I do feel like it'll peter out as it gets over the peninsula and gets to the Atlantic Ocean. But by then, Tampa, yeah, I do feel like it's like, that's not good. I feel like they're saying northeast or southeast, have the different models. It doesn't really matter in my mind. I feel like it's going kind of curves up a little bit up the coast, going across Jacksonville. I have family in Jacksonville and are near there, and then I have family in the Keys, and this is going right down the middle. Hopefully nobody will feel maybe rain, but that would be it. Okay, lots and lots of possibilities. So this came out. This is a lot of confusion, a lot of what do we do? What's going to happen? How do we choose? How do we choose what to do? I saw DeSantis on, giving a press conference, and the federal or whoever, the national hurricane people or the storm people in Florida, really very serious. DeSantis was less. He's like, we'll be ready, but he seemed not as urgent as I think he should have been, I think. And Trump's nonstop lies about FEMA and federal agencies not supporting the people who have got affected by Hurricane Helene. I wanted to see how that would affect the election. I do feel like there are people that won't vote because they're too focused on surviving, and which is logical, and they can't because it's not in there. They want to, but they can't. I'm not saying everybody, but I do feel like they will do temporary voting situations for people, or temporary boxes, or temporary, which will bring some court cases. It's kind of like COVID. You remember everybody, they made it real difficult because of the virus, and they limited things, and it's kind of similar in a way. Strength. People are getting through this. We're gonna survive. Now, when I see if it'll hurt, in the past I saw Georgia, believe it or not, going more Trump, even though last time Biden won. And I wanted to check in with that to see if they were going to make it, would the hurricane or any opinions, these lies about FEMA not helping, or Biden just ignoring the problem, or all the things that the Democrats are doing down there to destroy the Georgia vote. I do feel as if there are a lot of people that are just so devastated. And of course they need to blame somebody, because it couldn't, it's just so easy to do. Black and white is easy. Gray is hard. Black and white is easy, And they're angry at everything, so it's easy to... I might do the same thing, Humans. But when I think about the Georgians, or how Georgia... I had to stop. My uncle just called. He's visiting my mom. My uncle and his wife. I love my uncle. He's such a nice man. He played in a band. He hadn't seen some of his bandmates for 50 years. So that's how that goes. Time passes. Anyway, I do feel that Georgia, there will be people that won't vote. I think that it's possible at this moment in time that Georgia will go to Trump. I'm not sure why I feel that way, but that's what I'm feeling. It'll be close, but there's going to be something counting. Maybe it'll be go to Trump, and it'll be so close that be a lot of court things, and they won't be able to decide right away, which of course that's going to happen. Okay. Let's get myself together here. So, now, Hurricane Milton, like I said, I already see it going really strongly, bigly into Florida. And everybody needs to evacuate. But the uncle that I just spoke to lives in Florida, northern Florida. And he said him and his wife, they just get used to it. You just get used to this. He said they might not go back till everything is over, because then the power will be out and everything, which makes sense. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. As long as everything's covered. But he's not in harm's way, really. They're on the edges of the path. Dark Maga. My goodness. This is crazy. So Darth Maga Musk, Musky Maga, I know he's on the spectrum. But when I get into his energy, and I've said this multiple times, he's got two parts of him. The human part, which he's not so much connected to. He's got his mathematical algorithm brainiac part that's dominant, right? So he's always looking to create, make money, be strong, be powerful, and keep... It's like the part of him grows and grows and grows, like, I can do anything I want, and he feeds it. And it's getting fed by outsiders, too, because you're making me money? Okay, give you power. So... he feels as if Harris gets in place, or as president, he will lose that ability. He will have the chains around him. I feel like he's worried about being restricted, through laws, or maybe speech, or that kind of thing. Although I don't see it happening directly on Twitter right away. But I do feel like he just assumes so. He imagines it. He projects that onto her. And he loves the strongman kind of vibe that Trump gives out. And this horrible thing, somebody on Fox was saying that this is a time for civil war. Also scary. Sagittarius moon, everybody's feeling like the world is blowing up a little bit. Okay, let me get out of this. There's no civil war. I see everything north from times of civil war, but I feel like the northern part of the country, Pennsylvania, Michigan is in that area, are not as interested. They feel like they're not interested in. There's pockets in southeastern states. I'm trying to get out of my logical mind. For Civil War, I had to stop. I see Two of Wands. This is, I feel like, even though this is partnerships, business, otherwise, I feel like the way those look is a battle, like me against you, head to head. Our heads are in completely different spaces. Queen of Wands, this is fire. Again, the two fighting, powerful. You can imagine two male lions fighting over the same territory. That's what I do. I feel Harris is going to win, but there's a problem with support, obviously, after the fact. Just like, and it's funny, it's not going to be they stole the election as much as it'll be the system was in place that I guess they could say that she stole it, but she won for that reason, not because she, it was already set up that way because Joe Biden was in office, kind of thing. And that the Constitution needs to be revised. They don't like it. They think it's old-fashioned or it's not applicable to now. And too many elitists are trying to control the population. And it's like, that idea, the Illuminati, where we don't have any power. These 1%ers. Yes, there's going to be skirmishes, not skirmishes, or maybe skirmishes. Feels very much like the 60s. I'd see on television, fighting police, towns everywhere where they're having riots. I don't feel like it's going to be that bad, like not like the riots in the South or anything like that. But I do feel like there will definitely be some powerful conflicts between the election, well, actually now, to the election to January 23rd. I don't know why that's the 23rd comes to mind. And I already said I've seen the militia gathering, but not so much like they have an exact plan, but they are getting things lined up when the plan comes into effect that they decide they need. So they're going to be prepared. It's like getting your books and syllabus ready for the first class. They have it, but they haven't actually attended or doing anything. Trump will stop at nothing. There's nothing he won't stop at. He will say and do anything at this point. He's desperate. He's very desperate. He's going to lie and say anything. He's scared. He's a cornered dog. And Musk's dark Maga is really fueling, and he has so much money. I think he would even, I told you before, he is making agreements with the Middle East with something with their robot things, the robot car things. But at the same time, he's in conversations with Russia. And he really, really wouldn't mind using them in his Twitter X platform to create. Wow, that's really bad. What will that do? I do see a lot of cybersecurity people like FBI or CIA or Homeland Security going after that. I do see them digging deep to sort that out or to dig that out. And I do feel safe saying that. So that's good. I do feel good about that. But he's going to continue and ramping that up. His needs are this. Trump wants to stay in, power because he wants to keep out of jail. But Musk has all his multiple network of ideas and things that he needs to keep in power. So I do feel, as of right now, the powers that are good will overtake the powers that are bad, or the darkness, the dark Maga, the dark web, the hate, the racism. There'll always be negative, dark people. It's just because that's the way it is. But the powers of good ultimately will win. Sometimes it looks like it's not, but ultimately they win. And there will be challenges. I got the 5 of Wands, Ace of Wands, and some inspiration. We have really smart people, but it's 10 of Wands. It's hard work in the Moon. A lot of hidden things, a lot of things that we're not aware of. People are oblivious to things going on. Death. And then the Empress. And then that's light will rise, abundance. Women, the goddess, the feminine warrior is actually going to become stronger because we have power, and then we have strength. So ultimately that's feels really good. Right now, I feel like I'm in a little bit dark spot. So somebody asked me about getting into that murky energy, and I feel like I have to take a shower sometimes after I get into Musk's energy or Trump's energy. And yeah. All right. There's a few little earth phenomenons, earthquakes, Himalayas. Somebody asked me about earthquakes. Definitely. Why do I see? Okay. I know the Himalayas are East India, where India's country pushed, and that created all of them that way. I think that's where they are. Why do I feel mild earthquakes? Nothing major though. I feel like it is shifting, like the world is shifting. Tectonic plates are shifting. That's why we're having more volcanoes. The heat of the water may make a difference. Our ozone layer is being penetrated by the sun because of the carbon. So it heats up the planet, and because something is heated, it's like anything. It moves, it boils. Like if it's frozen, it contracts, except if it's water, then it expands. But I feel like it's expanding with the heat. That's just the visual I get. And I don't feel India's any big earthquake will move anything. Water like and land destruction for greed purposes. Big thing for that is overpopulation. The more population we have, the more droughts and use of resources, and honestly, nature has a way of eliminating population through disease. Humans have come up with ways to save ourselves, but nature's way is to kill off, a bunch of too many of one species or something with the disease, as it does, because it's over, the balance is off. The changes in the earth, I don't know why I see cold. Why do I see cold? Out in the ocean to the west of India, down that way, is that? Can't be cold. It should be hotter, right? Actually, I'm getting the jet streams are shifting. They're shifting. Something is coming up from cold to be warmed, and that's going to change some things. We are going through a phase. Eventually, we're going to have another ice age. I think I've mentioned that before, but it's not for probably 1,000 years. But still, we are going to have another ice age. And actually, the earth is changing. That's the one thing that's permanent. The earth is changing. It's heating up. Sun is hitting us more. It's changing all of these dynamics. Some species have to or will die away. And it is the basis of human beings here, greed. stripping lands. If we didn't strip lands, if we didn't, if we kept only what we needed, if we lived on a land and integrated more harmoniously, then it wouldn't do that. But because we're sucking all the water dry out of this area, or we're stripping the land, the trees don't produce carbon dioxide, and then things get heated up. I do think we're learning. I do think climate change will become, once Harris is in office, climate change will be more and more effective, or made attention to, caused attention to it. But this is going to be a long time. We've done this to ourselves. And I do think that we're going to have many years of good weather and things will be okay. But we need our shock. Everybody needs to go, wake up. This is happening. It's real. It's not just our imagination. Weather does change. There's phenomenons change. There's fires and floods and things that have always happened, but we've just increased it for decades. But we're going to fight it. I got the 9 of Wands, which means we're going to fight it. We're exhausted, but we're going to keep fighting. And then slowly but surely there'll be an adjustment. People will be I had to get a Kleenex. People will be not sure if they're just like, this isn't going to be good enough. This isn't going to be good enough, but we will chip away and chip away and chip away. And there will be some big things that we're going to lose. I don't know if it's ice caps or animal species or it looks like we're going to travel. Yeah, not great. There'll be a lot of fighting, a lot of people trying to use their own money needs or greed to... Oh, it's going to be a hard fight, guys, people. It's very slow. Knight of Pentacles, very slow, a slog. But that's how it's been. But I think we'll pick up, say if we're going 0.2 miles an hour, we're going to go to 0.8. You know, it's like that. We're going to just slowly. And there'll be money to be made in the change. There'll be companies, very smart people, humans will come up with companies that actually make money on green living. Not that there isn't already, but it's going to grow and grow and grow because, you know, those people were young, you know, in the 80s and 90s and they see the change too. So I think that was it, guys. Hopefully this wasn't too meandering. I just want to say it's going to be okay. Today's kind of a crappy, fearful day. But if you stay away from just the basics, if you just learn the basics about what's happening in the news, people in the Maga world, I think they are falling away a little bit. They see him as being ranty, ranting, and most humans do not want to live in a community of darkness and of hate. They want to live in a community of love and peace. So we want to stay in that place, that most humans are good. Regardless of political affiliation, most humans are good. It's just the ones that are noisy and scary sometimes are the loudest, and then you think they're all like that, but they're not. They're good people. It's kind of has become a cult, the Trump, so they ignore what's happening in front of them. They see it with their eyes, but they don't believe it because they're told not to believe it. So they've been, I know it's cliche, but they've been brainwashed to a great degree. But many are waking up. Many are waking up. So, all right, let's send a wall of energy on the side of the Gulf of Mexico, inland side of Florida, so that hurricane kind of hopefully bounces over it, doesn't destroy it. Maybe it'll, I'm picturing a big invisible hill that goes up and over to the other side. And send all those people intelligence and the wisdom to know when to leave and what to do and courage to do what they have to do. All right, guys. Till next time, thanks for coming by.